than 24 hours away from the queue over the years. And I remember that when these programs are launched, millions of people are targeted. And the idea is always to reach the vulnerable households. In fact, the one that was launched by the current administration, which was a year ago, conditional cash transfer program for 15 million households. Stay with me. And they were supposed to be for eligible households, and they were supposed to receive 75,000 naira within a 3-month time frame. Okay. Now, where it is at the moment, I can't really say. But then let's think about another program. The one I think it was quite popular within the Buhari administration, the N Power program. We had people receiving, how much was that again? How much were they receiving? If you're one of them, yeah, you can actually join this conversation, because we're going somewhere with this. I mean, we've had these programs go on and on over the years. But then we've also had a policy which we call the cashless policy. Started in 2012, but the full embrace of it for Nigerians came on after the whole new Naira matter. And a lot of people today are okay with doing transfers. But then, are we leaving anyone behind as we all embrace cashless economy? As Nigeria pushes for a cashless economy where transactions happen digitally instead of with cash, I'm asking on the show today, are we leaving anyone behind? Cash transfer programs and cashless policy. Is there a balance? How should it work? How is it working? How many people have been impacted when it comes to these programs? Especially when you think about its implication for financial inclusion. Can it happen? Welcome to Talking Figures. And today on the show, we have a guest. I looked at her bio and one word just came to my mind: financial inclusion policy expert. She's been in the business for quite a long while and understands completely what I'm talking about, more especially to help us understand what the implications could be for financial inclusion when we think about cash transfer programs by government and the cashless policy, and more people are embracing it. Where does that leave everything that we do as business people or career people or people who just need to grow their money? Yes, we're live on Facebook. We're also live on YouTube at Nigeria Info PH. I have joining me the Pioneer Managing Director, Chief Executive Officer, and co-founder of Edfin Microfinance Bank Limited, Miss Bunmi Lawson. She joins me on WhatsApp, actually. Thank you so much for joining me, ma'am. Okay, I have to kill this voice so I'm sure she can hear me. Can you hear me now? Good afternoon, ma'am.
Yes, good afternoon. The music was so loud. It was the music I could hear.
Yes, I know. So let me introduce, so you can hear me introduce you now. Okay,
thank you.
Yes, so the Pioneer Managing Director and the Chief Executive Officer and co-founder of Edfin Microfinance Bank Limited. And I think a member of Fixed Politics Initiative as well. And
yes.
The bio was really interesting to read, honestly. Thank you for joining me. And
Thank you
obviously,
so much.
yes, we're going to get into all of your experiences so far. But then I just talked about the cashless policy. I also talked about the cash transfer programs that we've had in this country and where the nexus is. Where is the link? How do we ensure we're not leaving anyone behind? If we say that, where is the place of financial inclusion if we look at these two, should I call them phenomenon at this point? Anyways, thank you for joining me. And as our tradition is on the show, we will have to first go through what I call Market Watch. We'll just look at the top 3 stories in the world of business, and then you just give me your thoughts before we get into this big topic proper. Are you ready?
Yes, I am.
Okay, thank you. Awesome. All right, so the very first story with me here has to do with, should I call it the obvious? The power sector. A lot has gone on there, grid collapses, and some people said it began to look like a movie series. And every other weekend, a lot was happening. Currently, 19 northern states are without electricity, and they say it's been like a terrorist attack on the grid. And solutions are being found. But when you look at it, for us as a nation, and what we've been through, what comes to your mind, Ms. Lawson?
My goodness, when it comes to electricity, it pains my heart so much that a country with such potential as Nigeria cannot generate electricity for its citizens. And we have spent so much. If you check our budgets, different regimes, as the political and presidential regimes, have proffered solutions to this issue of electricity. And yet, we are still a country generating far less than 10% of our needs, of our requirements. It is really a sad thing. One of the things that really bothers me is the success that when you compare the success that we've had with telco, we liberalized, we opened up the licenses. Investors came in, both Nigerian and foreign companies. And I will keep telling people, it was as if they were paying us to solve our problem. Why can't we do the same thing with electricity? I just don't understand it. I've asked these questions over and over again, and the answer I keep getting is a lack of political will. So in recent times, government has enabled states now come up with their own electricity policy. That's state by state. So while it may be good for some states like Lagos State that has a huge population, huge demand, I do feel that a state by state initiative may be too small to be attractive for foreign investors. Although I think it's the Ibom Power that is going on in Abia, so that looks like it's the manufacturing base. But where a country cannot have adequate electricity for its people, the progress is limited in all fronts, from manufacturing, even our refineries. How do they work when you don't have electricity? How do you set up a train system, transportation, all of that, where there's no electricity? How can manufacturers work? Small businesses, it's just holding the entire. In fact, that's why I feel our poverty levels, going to the issue of financial inclusion and poverty that we're going to talk about, it still boils down to this lack of infrastructure, especially electricity, that we don't have. The most recent ridiculous one for me was where power stations are saying they will guarantee 24 hours or 20 hours a day, and then you are on band A. So as soon as that came, I was like, where are they going to get that power from when you are not even generating enough? So there's no way you can deliver it. It's just a gimmick to increase pricing without delivering the promise. So
and we can stay on electricity all of this time. Honestly, there's so much to unpack on it. But let's move now and look at the financial institutions. In the past couple of weeks, of course, we all saw the disruptions that happened, various banks trying to do some sort of transition. And then some of them, we actually had a couple of bankers come on the show, and they explained that, part of those disruptions were network connected, internet issues, not necessarily from the bank. But then when you see a story like the Federal Competition and Consumer Protection Commission, FCCPC, warning the financial institutions against continuing disruption in online banking services across Nigeria, what goes through your mind? Like, does it show that agencies of this nature do not really understand what the issues are, or they're just doing their job?
Well, they have to do politics, is what I would say. So they have to be seen to be doing something. So I would say that to an extent, I agree that the disruptions were excessive. So while I understand that when you're converting to a new, I think it's even excessively expensive to do so. That result, one of the
become the China's richest person. Yes. You have to pay attention, isn't it? So what do you think? What do you think is are we leveraging all of this as much as we can, and how can we leverage or create such platforms or replicate such innovations for us here in Nigeria?
Yeah, it's a challenge, I would say, to the tech people. So first of all, I want to say that TikTok has both its good and bad. So for the good is, I feel it empowers people to be able to earn revenue and generate content and all of that for themselves individually with very little entry to market. You understand? So
Absolutely.
with things going viral. But of course, we've seen some countries want to ban TikTok because of
Mm-hmm.
the influence, the number of people who are on TikTok, and
Especially in
you can
young
send
people.
messages that, yeah, that may be fake, all this fake news. Even some people say it had an impact in US elections and things like that. So there needs to also be some control. But you see, a country like Nigeria, I do think we need to embrace technology such as TikTok that empower individuals to have a voice, to have a say in their economic well-being. Because I think it's something that we need to develop more. So I'm challenging Nigerian tech. So yes, why can't we create our own Nigerian TikTok so that
Mm.
even as we are also having a network that most Nigerians are on.
Yeah.
But I still feel there's nothing wrong with using TikTok, provided individually we have our controls in terms of content, in terms of ensuring that it's not false content, child abuse, data privacy, all of those rules.
Yeah.
That's why those agencies need to be able to do their work, need to have the equipment to be able to monitor, to track, and all of those things so that they keep that social media sane.
Interesting,
That's my
and that's a good place to begin. That we do not compromise, morality at the altar of trying to hit these kinds of lists. But congratulations to him, Zhang Yemiang. That's his name. Okay, now we've wrapped up Market Watch. You did it so perfectly well with me, Madam Lawson. Thank you so much for sharing insight there. Now we get into insider tips, where we're looking at the government's cash transfer programs, the cashless policy. Is there a meeting point and implications for financial inclusion? It's still talking figures of 92.3 Nigeria info. When we get back from this break, we'll delve even deeper. Like I said, I have a financial inclusion policy expert with me. She's currently on so many boards of so many companies. She understands exactly what we're talking about. Yes, allow me to use that. You understand exactly what we're talking about and what the implications are, especially for businesses, how businesses should better position. Okay. If these cash transfer
yeah.
programs are not going anywhere and the cashless policy is not going anywhere, how should they position? We'll be on a break very soon, but then you can join us on Facebook. We are live on Facebook. We're also live on YouTube at Nigeria Info PH. And then you can send messages on WhatsApp. 0809-030-6416 is the WhatsApp number. The question I'm asking today is if you've ever experienced or had to receive any benefit, basically, from any of the government cash transfer programs. If you've ever benefited, I would like to hear from you. How did it feel? Okay. My father's closest experience to free money, government money that is free money, was NYSC of my brother. The way they gave him bicycle allowance. He actually wanted to frame the money. That was the first time he saw that kind of money. I don't know what your experience is, but that's my closest to seeing how people respond to free money from government. So what's yours? What's your experience? Yes, you can share that with me. Go on WhatsApp and share your message. Please do not call that number. We're going to open the phone lines after the break, after we've laid the background. We'd like to hear from you. But then for now, you can send messages on WhatsApp 0809-030-6416. That's the WhatsApp number. And yes, you can also share your comments on WhatsApp and YouTube at Nigeria Info PH. We're live there. My name is Choma Ezenwafo, and we'll go on that break now. When we get back, we'll delve in. Stay tuned. Have you or someone you know benefited from any government cash transfer program? What was your experience like? That's our conversation. That's what we're looking at today on 92.3 Nigeria Info Talking Figures. We just finished Market Watch and we're doing Insider Tips now, where we're looking at the various government cash transfer programs we've had over the years, and then even the current one that we have, which was supposed to reach 15 million Nigerians, 75,000 naira for the next 3 months, spread across for the next 3 months. Very interesting initiative there. But then we have a policy. We'll call it the cashless policy, which has been on since 2012. The government has been pushing for us to do less cash and more online transactions. And now Nigerians are beginning to embrace it more. Are we leaving anyone behind is actually the question I'm asking. And what's been your experience when it comes to these transfer programs? Have they really helped to liberate you from poverty or improved your financial state? What really is financial inclusion? The agenda of government when it comes to financial inclusion, when you think about these two programs, the program and the policy. I have a guest with me. Call her a big fish, and you are so correct. Yes, she's a financial inclusion policy expert, and more importantly, the pioneer managing director, chief executive officer, and co-founder of Edfin Microfinance Bank Limited. And she's joined me now on the show, Miss Bunmi Lawson. Like I said, she did quite so great analyzing the Market Watch earlier, talking about the issues we've seen go on in the news when it comes to the world of business. And now we look at this situation, the implications of the government cash transfer programs in our cashless policy era. Who are we leaving behind, and what truly should financial inclusion look like at a time like this? Ms. Bunmi Lawson is a prominent Nigerian financial services leader and social entrepreneur. She's celebrated for her significant contributions to microfinance and financial inclusion. She is currently the CEO of Edfin Microfinance Bank, and that's Nigeria's first specialized microfinance institution focused on education. And she's been instrumental in creating financial solutions that empower schools, educators, and education-based enterprises to thrive. And before she joined this bank, Ms. Bunmi Lawson was the founder, managing director, and CEO of Action Microfinance Bank, where she played a key role in expanding financial access for underserved communities in Nigeria. So when I say that she understands exactly what it is that we're talking about here on the show today, you see that I'm right? So under her leadership, the bank grew into a major microfinance institution, serving thousands of low-income individuals and small businesses. So she has over 25 years of experience in finance, and she's passionate for women's empowerment, financial inclusion, and social entrepreneurship. Thank you so much, Ms. Lawson, for joining us again.
Yes, thank you. It's good to be here.
Okay, so let's dive now into this conversation. When you think about government cash transfer programs, and then we're doing it as in a cashless policy era, can you share your perspective on how the policy aligns with the goals of financial inclusion, particularly for underserved populations?
Yeah. So thank you very much for that question. As you said, it's one that is really dear to my heart. This issue of poverty in Nigeria, to me, is unacceptable. When I started in my work in development, this was in year 2000, I would say, poverty was around that 70%. I remember us, feeling it was totally unacceptable. And by 2014 or so, 2015, it had come down to around 40%. But unfortunately, in recent times, before this even Naira devaluation, we were already back at 66%. It had come. Unfortunately, in recent times, so that 66% was just, it's like, to me, I would tell people that it almost seems as if they wiped out all my life achievements in trying to eradicate poverty in Nigeria. But during that time, government has actually done, a bit to try to alleviate poverty. Unfortunately, I see some of the policies as contradictory. They put a gain somewhere and then they withdraw that same gain. So I was trying to even come, and see a list of government intervention around poverty, whether it's cash transfer, starting with NAPEP. They were giving out cars. That's how we have a NAPEP taxi today.
Yeah.
We had the conditional cash transfer program, the program where we were money. Then there's we had good price coming from GIP. That's where they were giving from 5,000 naira. I remember the vice president there going around markets. There, rapid response cash transfer.